All right, all. This is Matt Cervantes from Sierra Health Foundation and the Center. I'm going to kick us off and then pass the baton over to Ray Green. But just wanted to first just introduce myself. I serve as the Director of Health Programs at Sierra Health Foundation and the Center at Sierra Health Foundation. Had the pleasure of working with all of our MBK partners, including multiple cohorts and classes of our MBK Youth Fellows. I'll just say that this fellowship this last year has experienced really nothing like we've seen before. From a kind of social and emotional support that the peer mentors have provided, the kind of all hands on deck support that our adult mentors have provided. Everybody is wrapping their arms around all of our young people at this moment, including and especially our MBK Youth Fellows. I will say, obviously we have seen some tremendous challenges over the last couple of months. First with COVID-19, the shelter-in-place order really disrupted what we had planned to see and accomplish with the Youth Fellowship. And yet, I will say the tenacity and resilience of our young people are incredible. They continued to meet, they continued to support each other in really profound ways to make sure their brothers stayed connected. And then most recently, the very public shooting of our family members across the country really profoundly touched us all. We know that our young people are in the midst of historical changes in this country, and they are leading the way. They are leading the way for transformation across the state, across the city of Sacramento, and contributing to that transformative change in our country. We are centering our young people in this work. We are centering their health and well-being. And I will tell you, just as challenging as the last few months have been, the sort of resilience, the sort of leadership that we've seen our young people provide in this country, in this state, and in Sacramento has been nothing short of inspiring. Our fellows are part of that movement. Our fellows are part of leading this transformative change that will result in justice for our communities, will result in justice and correct so many of the wrongs within the state, within Sacramento. It's really an honor to be part of the team that is connected to MBK Sacramento. I know you see, we have, a number of partners, community partners who are part of the My Brother's Keeper Sacramento network. They're here to rally their support, convey their congratulations, applaud all of the accomplishments that have taken over the fellowship in the past few months. I will say, traditionally when we host these end of the year celebrations, we have much fanfare. There's games, and there's music, and there's song, and there's dance. And we want to bring that to our youth fellows. It just won't be right now, but it will come. And we will celebrate you and all your accomplishments, your resilience, your tenacity, and all that you are and all that you've contributed to the brotherhood that is made up of MBK Sacramento Youth Fellows. I know everybody who is attending here, and there's over 30 people on the Zoom, just are here to celebrate you and all your accomplishments over the last month. So just want to recognize that. Thank you for your commitment to being part of this brotherhood. Thank you for leading the way. Thank you for showing up each time you could, each time you reached out to your brothers to make sure that they were a part of your check-ins and your work. Thank you for that. We're going to draw on that kind of experience and that commitment in future years. This brotherhood does not go away. You may go to a different school, you may go to another neighborhood, but once you're an MBK Sacramento Youth Fellow, you're always an MBK Sacramento Youth Fellow. You just will be shifting your leadership to mentoring the next class. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ray Green. He's our MBK Sacramento Community Coordinator, tremendous leader for My Brother's Keeper Sacramento. Thank you, Ray. Take it away.
Thanks, Matt. So I just want to welcome all of the parents, advocates, neighbors, friends, family, and of course, our youth fellows on the call. You all have done it. You've stood the test of time, literally, facing all that we face with the pandemic, with the crisis. Some of us have been advocating during the times of protest. And instead of panicking, you did what all great leaders do. You pivoted. You advocated to meet more, to find greater opportunities, which I'm sure you're going to get to hear all those on the call, some of the great work that they've done, but also just pointing out their resiliency. And I say that because it shows the true strength from all of those brothers who are on the call. And for those who don't know, My Brother's Keeper Sacramento is about improving outcomes for boys and men of color. These individuals were not just selected, they had to apply, they had to be interviewed, they had to pass the test to be committed to create and say that I decide to be a change agent for not just myself, or not even for my family, but for my city, right? And this goes beyond several county lines, is what most people find a challenge. They found a brotherhood. So we really want to uplift that to the fellows. This is your day. This is your time to shine, but not just pause here, keep shining as we continue on. So I want to welcome you all to this time, and I'm going to now pivot to Mr. Silva, if he can go ahead as we celebrate this rites of passage and just have a brief words, and then give us the okay, as in many of the traditions is to ask our elders for permission to proceed. Mr. Silva, you may be on mute.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Okay. As a movement builder, system disruptor, and trusted community elder and leader, I give my blessings for the rites of passage to my brother's keeper, youth fellows, as they continue in their leadership growth and service to their community. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
I just want to make sure.
Yes, we can still hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you for those kind words. And I also want to see if Greg King is on the call. I believe he's dialing in. For those who don't know Greg, or those who do know Greg, he's someone on the front lines who really meets the needs of our youth, not just through programming, but through crisis response. And as we know, not only are we going through COVID-19, the pandemic, we also are trying to keep peace in our communities for our boys, for our families, and as well for our future. So I'm sure if he was here, he would tell you that you are the present and you are the future. At this time, I'm going to ask Daniel, do we have permission to proceed forward?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Permission granted.
Thank you. As we move forward, you are now going to be in the hands of Dr. Ijoma Ananuju and one of the MBK SAC peer mentors and youth fellowship alumni, Alejandro Galicia Cervantes. Thank you.
Man, we appreciate the opportunity to be here with all of you today. I am fortunate that this is my third celebration with the Sacramento MBK Youth Fellowship as a mentor facilitator, and a third year getting an opportunity to meet a number of dynamic young people who are going to be future leaders, not only in our community, but across the world. It's unfortunate that we've had to deal with the COVID-19 crisis this year, but I agree with Ray 100% that, you know, their ability to pivot when the world had to pivot and be leaders at the front of that change is evident of their leadership and their ability to really take on the task of making this world better for young men of color. So I know Alejandro and Alejandro, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, awesome. Let me take a step back. Alejandro, go ahead and introduce yourself to the group.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everybody. My name is Alejandro Galicia Cervantes. I'm an alumni of the first cohort of the MBK Youth SAC Fellowship. I'm a second year at UC Davis studying economics and political science, and I'm currently a peer mentor here for the fellowship.
Oh, wait, I'm giving you
A little bit about me.
Awesome. Alejandro, I didn't know you were studying political science and economics, man. That's a beautiful double major there, as someone who also double majored in political science and economics. So Alejandro and I are tasked with giving an overview of the program. I'll start with where we are coming from, and then Alejandro can take it from there. So we started the program 3 years ago, and our main goal was to give young men of color in the city of Sacramento an opportunity to have a voice as it relates to issues pertaining to young men of color. Over the last 3 years, we have really expanded the program each and every year, with last year getting an opportunity to connect with the larger MBK movement and being awarded the grant that the Obama Foundation has provided, and having that awesome experience last year, being able to take our youth to the Obama Summit in Oakland, where they got to meet the president and experience that. But this year we were taking it to a whole nother level, where our young people were getting an opportunity to interface with the larger MBK network, with all of our partners throughout the city of Sacramento, and really begin to step into that role of not only being leaders, but being folks who have a strong voice as it relates to policy and programming that we have for our young people moving forward. I was hoping, Alejandro, if you could share with us some of the projects that we've done over the last few years.
Yeah, of course. So for the first cohort, we finished off with a policy brief recommendation that we got the opportunity to first and foremost present to the MBK network, and then we presented it to different intersectional organizations that you would benefit listening and hearing what boys and men of color from Sacramento have to say about the issues impacting us. We found it prevalent that mental health has always been an issue in an impact area where oftentimes boys and men of color are left behind. And moving forward to our second cohort, they did another policy brief around single family households. They also found, and they did their research. They put out a survey. They eventually shifted a little bit how they presented it. They created a video sort of policy brief that they presented to the larger MBK network, and now here we are, our third cohort. We've been lucky enough and blessed enough to continue this fellowship and which has allowed us to impact more and more boys and men of color in Sacramento. Currently for this current cohort, they've taken on 2 projects. They took on the MBK social media challenge that was launched a couple weeks back, and they're working on their photo youth voice project. And aside from those overarching kind of encompassing projects that the youth have taken part in, they've also taken part in larger movement conversations. For example, the MBK Youth Sacramento has a tradition of going to the MLK March every single year, right there in Oak Park, and it used to we used to go to the one in downtown. So these are just some of the different projects and movement exposure that we introduce our youth fellows to. And then I'll pass it over to my mentor, Ijo.
So one of the things that I want to just highlight is that our youth have been on the cutting edge of issues that have been essential to youth here in the city. If you paid attention to our city council meeting last night, the city council has decided to devote some significant funds to peer-to-peer mental health resources. Our peer mentors were on that 3 years ago, right? So city council is 3 years late to the game for what we were doing. This year, before we really got derailed by COVID-19, our cohort was looking at gun violence in the city. And if you look at what's happening right now, we've had a tremendous amount of gun violence in the last few weeks, right? So our youth have been on the cutting edge of identifying issues that are important to young men of color in Sacramento, and their recommendations have been recommendations that, if you really take a step back and look at them, are very sound in terms of their effectiveness for our youth. So with that, let's go ahead and introduce the mentors to you. Mark, let's start off with you. And do you want to introduce Christian, or would you like for me to introduce Christian?
You can introduce Christian. That's fine.
Say no more.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Before I start, just want to say big congrats to our graduates for the 2020 cohort. I'm so proud of you guys for making it to this step. Just blessed to be a part of this third year process of seeing these young men transfer out into the community and just grow. So I'm just happy to be here. Once again, my name is Dr. Mark Carnero. I play the adult facilitator role with the group, co-parts with Dr. Joma and Christian. And really, I just consider myself a student of these young men, because they're oftentimes the one teaching us in our circles, committed to the ways that they're moving throughout the community. So I'm just honored to be in this space. Happy to be here with you guys today. And I just want to say thank you again for the opportunity, and thank you for those who are joining us, being here with our grads today.
And for a second time, my name is Dr. Ijoma Ananiju. Happy to be with you today. Happy to be a part of the program. Our brother Christian Franco is missing today. He is a little under the weather. You know, when it comes to this heat, and then you walk into the AC, sometimes you get that beginning of the summer cold. And so he's taking care of his body today. We miss him, but the three of us have had a pleasure leading the fellowship for the last few years, and look forward to seeing the work that our young people do moving forward. Now we want to move on to having our peer mentors introduce themselves, beginning with Devontae.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Devontae Springer. I was a part of the first cohort of the My Brother's Keeper Fellowship, and man, my time in the fellowship, it was amazing. You know what I'm saying? I would never forget the fellowship that I shared. Like, I still talk to Lamarie, Alejandro, Chris. I still talk to the fellows that I was with in the cohort around that time. We still text, talk, and stuff like that. It's been one heck of a journey, man. Like, especially like with this cohort right now, like it was like we got to like a little bit towards the end of the 9 months, and it was like we had to, like Brother Ray said, we had to pivot. You know, we had to switch from meeting in person, every other week, hooping, playing games playing pool, stuff like that, to doing it virtually and just seeing people over the screen. And so luckily though, it wasn't like the fellows, they adapted, like, you know what I'm saying, it didn't seem like really a challenge to them. They stepped up. They continued to show up every week, you know what I'm saying. We went from, it was even a point in time we went from, in person we was meeting every other, about twice a month maybe, and when we was doing virtually, we actually went down to meeting every week. So it was like we actually tapped in with the fellows and the mentors. The whole family got to tap in every week, as opposed to like twice a month. And yeah, we just continue to meet on Zoom, continue to work on the projects. Like Alejandro mentioned, they got real creative. They came up with some social media challenges. That was really dope. And voiceover projects, I was thrilled, like, when I seen how they were still showing up and still, you know, putting in work. And like, besides the work, like, I was a little jelly. I ain't gonna lie, I was a little jelly. They was like tapped in with the Kings, like all the time, like dinners, games, courtside, like on the floor. Like, I was like, man, y'all living it up. So like, that was before the pandemic and everything, when we was still meeting, and yeah, like, they was like, it's just amazing to see, like, me being in the first cohort, and then now 3 years later, like, how it's still progressing, and we still got young homies coming back and they learning, putting in work. Like, it just be, you know what I'm saying, I just be wanting to keep it going, and I'm all here for it. You know, I just show up as, like, you know, like a big brother, you know what I'm saying, a voice. I'm only you know, one fifth of the peer mentors, but you know what I'm saying, we all be putting in that work, and we all stick together. So man, I just want to say, man, I appreciate y'all for making, you know, this journey like fun for me still, you know, even being like, I'm not in there with y'all, but I'm still with it. So I appreciate y'all for, you know, including me and letting me, you know what I'm saying, letting me have fun with y'all. And I'll pass it to Miss Christopher.
I don't think Christopher is going to be joining today, so I'm going to go ahead and speak. So, hi, my name is D'Angelo. I was part of the second cohort, and I agree with, just like Devontae said, there was a lot, like, that was, like, before, when I first joined my cohort, I wasn't even, like, into, like, joining or anything. My mom had to basically, like, put it on me, but basically, if my mom didn't put me on, like, all this stuff and tell me all about it, then I wouldn't have wanted to join. So that's one of the things that that stuck with me. And for this cohort this year, I feel like they had a lot of progression. In the beginning of the year, there was a lot. I mean, there was a lot of, it's kind of how it was like last year with our cohort. Like, there's a lot of like games being played, but when it came down to like business and stuff, like, they got on it. And especially with this pandemic, like, they proved that they actually wanted to be part of the group. They proved that they wanted to get down to business. I remember Christian said something that stuck with us. It was like, you could be in the meeting, like, physically, but you got to be there also spiritually. So after he said that, I remember one of the fellows came up to me and was asking, one of the fellows came up to me and asked me, do they feel like they're doing their part in the group? And I told him that, yeah, I feel like they were doing their job in the group. But I know a lot of the fellows had, like, in the beginning of the year, they were scared to, like, speak up and stuff. So now I feel like a lot of them became brothers, like just like me, just like Devontae said. I'm still talking with Devontae. I'm still talking to Lamari. I'm still talking to all my MBK brothers. So basically, this whole group has built like a foundation for us. And without that, like I think all my peer mentors, Ejo, Britt, I thank all you guys for basically building like a brotherhood for me. So thank you. I'm gonna pass it on to, is Lamari here?
No, I don't think Lamari is here. So let's go ahead and pass it on to Alejandro again, and then we can move from there.
Okay, for sure. So like I said before, my name is Alejandro Gaviz Cervantes. I was part of the first cohort, and for me, it has been transformational as my experience in the program. For example, I remember when I was first applying, I'm part of the IYT pro. I'm also an alumni from the IYT program at Valley High. And then I remember Michael Lynch, he was like, "Hey brother, you should apply." And then I was like, "What is it?" I didn't really know. I was like my junior year, and then I don't know, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. So I'm going through the program, and then I'm starting to build friendships. I get really close with Jasuni, Devontae, Christopher, and as I'm going through the program, I'm really enjoying it. I'm learning about my experience in Sacramento, how everything's so systematically set that my experience isn't that different from my brothers, and learning through that kind of opened up my eyes. And then obviously meeting Barack Obama, being on the panel with other youth leaders from across the nation was amazing. Back in the MBK Rising Summit in Oakland, eating by this amazing restaurant that they put us on, and now like I'm part of the MBK National youth focus group for gun violence, and I'm obviously thankful and appreciative to be a part of the peer mentors. But that's only one part of the experience. I think the second half of it, just being able to give back to the youth fellowship that provided those opportunities for me. And I think going to university and staying at Davis is really different from South Sacramento. So every time I went back to Sacramento for the fellowship meeting was, it grounded me, knowing that it was reminding me where I came from. It was reminding me why I even went to college and why I do the things I do, and it's just to give back and make it so there's a door behind me. Once I pass through one door, the door is open, and I'm really appreciative. And before the whole pandemic hit, my whole philosophy in walking into the meeting was just to be a big brother, just to be an ear when they needed it, or to give my 2 cents when they asked for them. And even then, after the whole pandemic hit, they were still joining and participating in the fellowship. So I'm really appreciative and grateful for the youth fellows from Cohort 3 to remain resilient through this hard times, and still being able to give their time to this fellowship, and be open to the different things that we had or planned for them. So that's a little bit about my experience, and so far it's been great. And I really do say the MBK network is a family. So I wish it can continue, and I hope that this family could keep on expanding. And I'm gonna pass it over to you, Joe.
Yeah, so just want to shout out to Chris. Chris was part of our first cohort and has been a big contributor to the MBK Fellowship Program. He sat out last year as he was a freshman last year at UC Davis, but then he returned to us back this year as a sophomore. And so Even though he's not here, just want to recognize him. Brother Lamarier, he participated in our fellowship 2 years in a row. So he was part of Cohort 1 and Cohort 2, and then decided to come back for Cohort 3 as a peer mentor. As you can see, we can't get rid of them. Once they get a little bit of MBK in them, they just keep on coming back. Brother Lamarier is one of our great success stories. Young man persevered through a lot of ups and downs to make sure that he graduated from college, and now after going through his Job Corps program is working full time, which is why he's not here today. And then MJ Turner was a fellow in our second cohort, and he's currently a student at Sac State University. And MJ, he works full time, goes to school full time. Like he's doing a whole lot, and so that's why he was not able to make it today too. So those are our 6 peer mentors. It's been a pleasure working with them this year. They have really shown themselves to be leaders and has helped us as mentors facilitate the program. And to show you that even more, are we going to Ray for Mr. King? I heard Mr. King had hopped online. Is he still here with us?
I think he is. So Mr. King, are you still available? Are you still here?
I am here. Yes, do y'all hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Could you just share a few words of just encouragement to the youth and maybe introduce yourself? I did a brief job, but I think you can do it so much better than I could about who you are, what you do, and just some words of wisdom as we continue moving forward in this presentation.
So thank you very much, and thank you for being patient with me as I struggle to get on. And that's part of being a part of a fellowship is doing the struggles. The fellowship will help lift you up. And as I've been on, and they're talking about the fellowship. That is the most powerful word is fellowship. Fellowship is a part of a family, and family, regardless of the struggles, the families will always be there for you. I am Mr. King, and I've been doing this work for quite some time. Matter of fact, I call it, I have been called to serve, and I serve, and I've been called to duty, and it is my duty to serve. And it's on purpose with a purpose. And my purpose of being on this call today is just to share some words of encouragement, and to each fellow that's on here, to fellowship, to all those who have been involved, to really go through the fellowship, you must have a plan, and that plan is dedication. You must dedicate yourself to having a plan, and then once you dedicate yourself to having a plan, you must be determined to reach your plan. And the main thing is just to do it. And to just do it means, just like the equation for math, you add something to that plan that's going to add to your plan. Don't put subtraction to it, because subtraction is going to take away from your plan. And definitely watch out for the division part, because division will take away from your plan, which will make it weaker. But look at the multiplication so that it can add to your plan. So dedication, determination, and do, and add, multiply, divide, and subtraction. And the thing about it is, stick to the fellowship. Keep reaching out to each other. Don't ever stop reaching out to each other, and know that as sure as the night comes, the day shall follow. There's an AM and there's a PM, and believe in yourself, and just strive to always do the best that you can. And for every failure there's a lesson. You must learn from the failures, because the failures will help you not to make that mistake again. And just continue to feed off your failures. Let it be food. That's just like me. I have failed many a times, but I have not failed in life, because life is still here with me, and life is still here with each one of you. The fellowship is like pyramid, and the pyramid is one of the strongest symbols there is. So I just want to encourage each one of you to just keep on doing what you're doing, and never be afraid to reach out to the next fellow, to the next person, to talk to them. And sometimes, as I've always taught myself, and I have been taught to be a better leader than I am now, sometimes I must be quiet and stand back and listen. You know, there is a question: is it stronger to be a negative follower or a negative leader? We don't want to be nothing negative. We want to be positive, a positive follower and a positive leader, so that you will gain strength. But you can always learn from a negative follower and a negative leader, because he too is going to make some bad mistakes that you're going to learn from, because you're not going to want to go down that same path. Sometimes we be quick to hop off that porch, say, oh man, I don't have no spring in my legs, so I got to hop back on that porch. Even if it takes you crawling to get back on that porch, you get back on that porch until your time comes. But remember, dedication, determination, and do. And I just want to encourage y'all to stick to the fellowship. Don't go away from it. You know, I've been part of fellowship for many years. I am a Boy Scout. I've been in the Boy Scouts ever since I was 7. On my honor, I promise to do my duty to go out of my country to obey the Sky Law at all times. And here it is, 62 years later, I am still a Boy Scout. I will always be part of the Boy Scout Fellowship, and I have learned so much from it. And I go through that in my life every day. I am a father of 9, and also I am a grandfather. I am a brother, I am an uncle, and I'm a cousin. And I am also your big brother. If you ever need me, my phone number is 916-470-2077. And I thank those of you for inviting me to be a part of this call. And it is a Rites of Passage. Thank y'all very much. And the best wishes and love to all of you. Thank you very much. That is Mr. King.
Thank you, Mr. King. Do we have permission to proceed?
Yes, you do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Some powerful words there. We appreciate you and your presence in the call. Appreciate you. So I'm going to be giving you guys an overview of what happened this year. I believe Miss Britt might be pulling up a small photo montage of some of the highlights of things that were happening throughout the school year, or academic year, or pandemic year, however you want to frame this. It's been a different time for us, right? A year like no other. And we had some, adjusting to do from the very onset of this whole thing. What we noticed from the very get-go and starting this project with these young men is that this was the biggest cohort that we've ever had. If you noticed, when we first started, we had, I think it was like maybe 5 to 7 or maybe 10 in that initial group, and that group grew. And we eventually spanned out to about 20 young men, this cohort. And I remember there was a moment during the retreat that we had with Christian, and I looked at him, I was like, man, this is a lot of students. And Christian goes, yeah, man, we got our work cut out for us, it sounds like. I was like, yeah, we definitely do. And it was just watching them grow, play. It was a basketball game that day. Quickly realized that I have no skills in basketball. These young men definitely have all of them. So it's been fun from the get-go with these guys, and I want to commend them on how open they were to the process of opening them up and being and connecting to something deeper within themselves, and testing what it means to be a man in terms of being open to sensitivity, open to growth, open to healing from trauma. And these young men from the very beginning started doing that self-work that is so important in trying to move forward with who we are, right? So as things progressed, as Devontae mentioned earlier, these young men were able to meet the Kings, meet the players, have dinners with the players, very VIP status with these young men. So it was a blessing that the center was able to provide this opportunity for these young folks, and just to let them know that the city had their back, and they were able to sit down literally at the table with these players, and it was a great time with them. There were also some gatherings that took place over the holidays, and some, as Alejandro alluded to, some marches that took place in terms of the MLK. Families were celebrated over the holidays with a meal. Some of you were able to join us with that, so we appreciate that. And then, as you all know, the COVID thing happened. I don't know how to quite frame that, but the COVID happened to all of us, and it forced all of us to kind of shift. But before that COVID happened, there was a great deal of discussions, a great deal of groundwork that happened that the young men were doing in terms of trying to figure out what to do with the project that they had in front of them. I want to be very honest with y'all. The think tanks that we had from the very beginning were amazing, but they were so large in terms of scope. I remember during one meeting, some of the young men wanted to tackle climate change. Some of the young men wanted to tackle war. Some of the young men wanted to tackle capitalism and materialism. Some young men wanted to talk about social media, gang violence. It quickly became this moment where we were trying to figure out, like, where do we go from here? And over the course of the weeks, these big ideas kind of honed into what Sacramento students were actually going through, Sacramento youth, young men of color were going through. And it got brought down to family issues, poverty, drug use, gangs, and violence in general. And the young men started to really plan around how to combat poverty and combat violence, specifically as it pertains to boys and young men of color. And as Dr. Joma alluded to earlier, that these young men were really ahead of their time. Had the pandemic not happened, they were planning towards a series of pop-up events that would have happened throughout the city, where young men of color could have convened with other young men under a peaceful kind of setting in terms of having a sports events, having just a place to meet up and build fellowship there. So, if maybe this thing hadn't happened, we definitely could have picked it up there. But as Alejandro mentioned earlier, we transferred a lot of that work into a different space, and then started with the social media campaigns that you all probably have been a part of or probably saw earlier. And as Britt's pulling up here, there were some graduations that took place and are probably happening this week as well for some of our students. So yeah, a lot of changes took place over this year, and we were lucky to be with the young men and witness all of them. So yes, with that, we want to go ahead and commemorate, honor, and bring in some of the cohort in terms of who was here for the Cohort 3 fellows. So what you'll be seeing next is a slideshow of folks, and Dr. Joma and I will be sharing a few words for each of these fellows. All right, so up first, Michael Cespedes from Burbank High School. Oftentimes, they say that the person with the most thought in their head is probably the quietest one in the room, and Michael Cespedes was definitely that, a quiet leader who was always assertive, but always take the role of kind of like sitting back, listening, and offering his perspective when things were time. So definitely one of our quiet leaders. Want to celebrate Michael. Keyshawn Smalley. We've had the pleasure of seeing and growing with Keyshawn for the past couple years. We usually just mention him as D'Angelo's little brother, but he's definitely come into himself. And the word I want to mention for Keyshawn today is growth. We've seen tremendous growth with Keyshawn over the past couple years in terms of owning his voice, being accountable to our group, being accountable to himself. So thank you, Keyshawn, for being a part of our group. Elijah May, I wish Elijah would hit today as well. He was one of our most resilient characters of the Cohort 3. Faced some tremendous obstacles this year, but he showed great spirit, bounced back, and taught a lot of us what it meant to take care of self and be spirited in your resilience. So we appreciate Elijah. Donnell Bell. When I think of Donnell Bell, I am oftentimes thinking about family, having big family and being there for your siblings. Whenever we asked Donnell where he was, he said, I'm taking care of my siblings. So we appreciate you, Donnell, for being that family man, setting a good example for your family and staying out there and taking care of them. So we appreciate you, Donnell.
Thank you. Thank you.
Omarion, one of our young men out of Hiram Johnson, another young man who has, you know, a smaller stature, but has a great voice. From the very beginning, we knew that Omarion was going to be one of our leaders in the group. How should I say this? He took his leadership seriously in terms of asserting his voice into the conversation. So we appreciate Omarion for being here and being present in our space. Michael von Hunsaker. So to be honest with y'all, Michael von Hunsaker was our last like a last minute draft pick. He got thrown into the raffle of names, and we said let's take it this late interview, and he killed it. And we appreciate Michael for being on board. He's one of our leaders from the Native community, and he's been you know, nothing but spectacular in terms of offering his voice, offering his leadership up, and really offering some perspectives that aren't shared by a lot of people his age. So we appreciate you, Michael. Isaac, you're taking Isaac? I'm taking it. Me? Okay. Isaac Garcia, one of our graduates this year. So proud of Isaac. We're just happy to have him on board. He was one of our folks when we transferred over into the pandemic, was just always online with us, always ready to build every week. And we're just happy to see Isaac grow into this graduate space, hopefully college bound.
All right, Andreas. Andreas is a young man who is actually a transplant from Hayward, California. Even during this pandemic time, he's been spending a lot of time with his brother in Hayward, but very thoughtful young man, always has something to add to the conversation, but also a very gracious young man. The last time I seen him a few weeks ago when we took him a care package, he just really expressed his appreciation for everything that the fellowship has done for him, and looking forward to really connecting with with Andreas when the year is up.
Eddie Cox. When I think of Eddie Cox, I think about his interview and how much he loves his mom. One of the first times I've ever heard, you know, a young man just be so proud about the relationship he had with his mother. And I think that speaks to a lot of his character, being unashamed to show that part of himself, be that leader that is unconventional in terms of what we expect from young men. And, you know, he just has this really soft side about him, which we appreciate. And he's always ready to build with his brother. So we appreciate you, Eddie.
Davian, I believe, is our oldest fellow this year. And what I love about that is we originally thought, you know, if it would be appropriate to have Davian in the group because we knew a lot of our fellows would be high school age, but having his leadership, having his age and his wisdom really proved to be an asset to all of us in the group. Every time we would go somewhere, Davian would have his camera with him. He is a artist, an entrepreneur, everything type of man where he is constantly working, constantly involved in the community, constantly doing things to enrich himself and others around him. And so it's been a pleasure having Davian with us this year.
Mathis, one of our proud graduates again from Discovery. We just want to mention, you know, we were really proud of him in terms of where he's been and where he has ended up in terms of being a graduate of high school. Another proud member of IYT, did a lot of time working. We had to be able to share with him a lot of the times in that space when he wasn't at work. So we're glad to be with him growing throughout this process. Thank you, Mathis.
And from our oldest to our youngest, Joab was our youngest participant this year. I just remember him from his interview. He blew us away in his interview. We could not believe that he was as young as he was. And we immediately was like, oh yeah, he has to be a part of the fellowship this year. But he continued to blow us away throughout his participation with the fellowship. That wasn't just a one-hit wonder that day in the interview, but he continued to grow before our eyes and really shown himself to be mature beyond his years. Brother DeMarco, this one is definitely close to my heart. Spent a lot of time with Brother DeMarco. Brother DeMarco has had some challenges throughout the year, but what I like about Brother DeMarco is he never, ever gave up and never stopped. Despite some of the challenges that he had to face. I believe he's even here online with us tonight. Brilliant young man, artist. Anytime you see DeMarco, anytime you see DeMarco, he's going to have his sketchbook with him where he has in detail drawn things. I think one of my favorite memories of DeMarco is he brought his basketball to the King's dinner. And next thing I know, his basketball was on the court. And he was looking at me like, what do I do? I was like, I have no idea, but I'm not going down there and getting it for you. But that's just the type of enthusiasm that DeMarco brought each time we got to spend time with him this year. Michael, extraordinary young man, extraordinary. Michael participated in our group this year. Then all of a sudden, Michael had to transition to Stockton because his family moved. And we didn't know if we would be able to continue to have him involved. And Michael continued to tell us, like, no, I still want to be involved. I still want to be involved. I'm still going to be attending meetings. And we're like, Michael, how? You're in Stockton. And this is one of the silver linings of the pandemic, because the pandemic really allowed Michael, because we transitioned to the virtual format, it really allowed Michael to tap in with us each week. And when I say he was the first one online, he was the first one online and the last one to leave, right? And you all will get to hear some of his words later on, but just to see how the program can have an impact on a young man just lets you know that we're doing the right work. Thank you, Mike. Brother Josh is a young man that I had opportunity to work with this year with the MBK Fellowship. Brother Josh lived all the way in Rio Linda, which impacted, his opportunities to come to the meetings on a regular basis. But when he was able to make that trek from Rio Linda to the Boys and Girls Club downtown, he was always an active participant and provided great insight into some of the work that we were doing. Loves basketball. And I felt bad because right before the pandemic hit, we were working and had got him some money to be able to sign up for AAU. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit and the AAU money, he was able to get a refund, but he wanted to really play basketball. And so brilliant young man, looking forward to seeing where he goes from here. Julius, now this is Julius' second year in our cohort or in our fellowship. Julius had so much fun last year as part of Cohort 2 that he asked to come back this year and be a part of Cohort 3. But I would tell you, last year, I didn't know that he had fun. I was a little shocked when he was like, hey, man, I want to be in the cohort again. I was like, really? Like, we come on back. We would love to have you. But I didn't know that it was. But that just, again, it just goes to show you what kind of impact that we have. And we've gotten to know Julius' little brother really well, who often comes to our meetings with him. So, Julius, we love you and your brother. Jace, again, this is another young man who participated in Cohort 2 and came back for Cohort 3. My first interaction with Jace wasn't even an interaction with Jace. It was an interaction with his mom. His mom came into our meeting and was like, what is this? And how can I sign my son up yesterday? And we were like, well, this is MBK Fellowship. And next thing we know, Jace was in our meeting with the biggest frown on his face. And he was like, I'm only here because my mama said I got to be here, right? And it went from I'm only here because my mom said I got to be here to I am happy to be here. I want to be here and being not only an active participant, but a leader in our program. So, Jace, it's been a pleasure, man. Alan, man, these last three are all folks who participated in Cohort 2. Brother Allen is another one of our older fellows. I think one of the things that I like about Allen and his story is that this year we got to really see him mature and grow into adulthood. He got a job. He got a job for FedEx right before Christmas time. And I don't know how many of you have ever worked for FedEx, but you know, FedEx is one of those, 18 to 22-year-old jobs where you get that temp job right before Christmas and you hustling. And they was calling him in at all times of the day, hey, we need you to work an extra shift. And he would call me every time before a meeting. He'd be like, either I'm coming to the meeting today or I got an extra shift, right? And so his communication over the last year just dramatically improved as I seen him putting in those 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour days. And those are the types of things that we really try to show our young men and teach our young men. And Allen was a living example of that this year. So I think we have a video that we're going to show you all next that really encapsulates the voices of our fellows. And this video has not been seen by anyone, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. Britt, did you share sound? I can't hear it.
Okay, sorry, just a minute. Let me see if I need to adjust for that. I can hear the sound, so I might need to just adjust my setting.
I was gonna say there's a little box you gotta check on the share screen.
You may need to just unmute yourself, B.
Before I came to MBK, my grades was terrible, and I explained that when I first met you guys during the first meeting that we had. I wasn't a passing student, but now since I've been coming to the meetings and you guys been explaining to me a lot that's gonna happen in this world, basically doing my grandparents to getting me prepared for my future and allowing my future to be bright. So that's what it's based upon right now. I've been getting awards from school. I've been trying to do my thing, working on this basketball season, and I wouldn't have been doing all that if I wasn't in MBK. How to love myself and allow myself to not be trapped into anyone else's mindset, allow anybody else to trick me into doing anything that I want to do, and to be myself and to be free, express myself in any type of ways that I can.
Well, MBK pretty much affected me by, getting my grades up, because before joining MBK, like, my grades were horrible. But then when I started going to the meetings and all that stuff, like, I felt like I wasn't the only one that had bad grades. And then, like, how most of my fellowships, like, started helping me, giving me confidence to do it. And now it's I already graduated. It's crazy. I never thought I would actually graduate with, A's and B's. I'll say definitely the love that you guys showed when we joined MBK. Because I remember when we did a whole circle with Christian and the baggage and the gifts. I felt like we were all like in a big family, we all circled around. We all, discuss our problems and all that stuff. So definitely the love and the time.
My time in MBK has been probably one of the most positive experiences I've had because it taught me a lot. Like, I remember the first day we had everyone there. It was like you guys and the peer mentors, they already opened up. So it was like a nice space. Like, we all felt comfortable opening up ourselves. And then when we did the big circle, you know, it was clear to me that everybody had, you know, things going on in their mental that obviously that's something in our communities that we don't really like to talk about because it makes you weak, but it was nice because you guys showed us that it made us strong to talk about those things and that those things are shared with everybody. So it was kind of like it was a sense of unity when we first got there on the first day. So I think that broke everybody out of their shell right away, which is something that a lot of groups have problems with, was they can't get everybody to come out their shell right away. But you guys somehow did it. I think that's somewhat magical. Like, nobody can do that but you guys. So I think that's something that everybody should be proud about, you guys and us. And you guys coming to my house and giving food and activities to do during this time showed that you guys really cared. Like, because I've had a lot of school counselors and people at school who'd say, oh, we care, but they're not willing to take the time out of their day to come help us. So I think that's something that I cherished a lot, and I'll remember that until I die. And I just want to say, you notice how none of us said anything about the money? That just goes to show that the money was cool, but clearly we valued other things more than the money, which I think shows that you guys were successful.
Well, how can I put it? I guess with MBK, it had me, what's that saying? Like, stop and smell the roses, so to speak. And kind of like look around a bit more, because normally I would have like, I would always have my hand in something, or I would always be doing something or working or something like that. But I didn't really start giving myself a break and actually like taking more time to do more learning and relationship building. And well, with MBK and the other cohorts. So, yeah, it's kind of like oh my goodness, it's never really thought I had to answer this question. It's inspiring and hopeful. You know, it's like, oh goodness, I'm saying, I'm a lot. Rule number one, broken in terms of interviews. Yeah, so it's very hopeful and inspiring for like just seeing the youth and the growth from where they are, from where they were when they first started to where they are now, and how they're like it, and like how they're going about things. And plus, it's like, it's not every day that that you'll see a group of youth that would be concerned with like self-care instead of like trying to get into trouble or something like that. So it's like, it's as I said already, it's hopeful, yeah, and inspiring.
How my time during MBK affected me? How has it affected me? It made me ever since I've been with MBK, I've been at the house more, been more active, like, cause like I'm normally a homebody, so I like to stay at home a lot. But ever since I joined this brotherhood, it made me want to get out more, you know, experience more things, see more things, you know, do more things too. And I'm very happy I've been part of this group. You know, it's a great group to be in, full of great people, and kind of sad that it ended. You know, we couldn't really do nothing because of this quarantine. You know, we couldn't really get a lot of things done like we wanted to, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, I guess I could take away with me a lot of the things that I've learned from a lot of y'all, like, you know, y'all. I mean, what y'all things that I didn't know about. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but just some advice that y'all gave me and the rest of the group. So yeah, it was some great advice you guys gave us. I appreciate it.
So first, I'd say MBK affected me in nothing but a positive way, because it, like, I was able to meet a really nice people, like Brett and all of you guys have been real nice to me and kind. I got to have a lot of serious conversation, got to connect. It's made me want to be a better me. It's opened my eyes to the fact that I got a lot more opportunities out there, and that building relationships with people and stuff is something that I should do more often. I feel like what I take away most from this MBK experience is that man, there's so much. Mostly what I take away is that to never give up, I guess you could say that. To always keep going, to always keep striving to be a better me and stuff, because I've realized that a lot of you who are mentors and stuff came from the same place we have, and you guys have made it pretty far and have done great things and are doing great things for not only yourselves but for young men like us to help us. So what I took away most is keep striving, keep doing my best to be great, because one day it's gonna pay off to share that knowledge and experience with someone else.
I felt like with this program, I grew up, and then I learned how to network and all of that. Like, I feel like I'm taking away maturity.
All right, thank you all for that video. That was a great video, by the way. So whoever made that video, we appreciate you. In terms of what we have coming up next, we have a very special. I'm on mute. Sorry. We have a very special ceremony coming up next. This was a ceremony that we started last year's cohort, and we thought it would be very fitting to replicate what was done with cohort 2 with this cohort that we have here now. Cohort 3 will also have a pinning ceremony, this time of course virtual because of the COVID-19 precautions, but it'll be special nonetheless. So our team was able to drop off, I believe it was Miss Britt or Miss Bell, dropped off individual pins to each of our young men. So if you all have that pin on you now, this would be a great time to pull that out. And we want to, commemorate your time with us and let you know that not everyone has access to this pin. This is not something you can go buy at the store on Amazon, right? This is something that is earned, a badge of honor. It is something that should be coveted, a mark of your brotherhood, and a way to symbolize your growth as young men over the period of a year that we had you, and just the commitment into where you plan to go in the future, where you take the MBK spirit and how you take the MBK spirit into the community. So as you put this pin on, know that others have put it on before you, and know that there is a responsibility that you now carry as you pin yourselves with this pin. So it's my honor to to congratulate all of you as you pin yourselves. I wish I could be there doing that for you, and I just want to clap it up for all of y'all as you go out there and pin yourself.
Can we, for those of our fellows that have a pin, can you put your video on so we can see you pinning yourself?
You want me to do it right now?
Yeah, we want y'all to do it right now. We want to see this.
I haven't even opened mine yet. Hold on. Let me open mine.
Proud of y'all.
Oh yeah, I see you, Donnell. I see you.
We had agreement. Only the top half needed to be done. I'm still in my shorts and stuff.
Don't show nothing but the top half here, my man. Don't show nothing but the top half.
I dropped my phone, my bad.
That's why I haven't stood up yet, Donnell.
Love it. I love it. Congrats. I see you, Jace. I see you, man.
I just pinned mine.
Jace got his on. Davion got his on. Perfect. All right, we appreciate y'all.
We appreciate y'all.
Thank y'all for putting those on, and we have your older brothers who will be giving you our last set of words here.
Actually, I believe first Mr. Green had something he was going to share. Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate all of those fellows. You guys made it. And I also want to take a pause in a moment just to recognize Christian, who's not here, Dr. Ijoma, as well as Dr. Mark. You all have done a phenomenal job, right? And we know the power of mentorship, but if I could just take 1.5 minutes to just tell you how appreciative we are as a collective in the body of this work. And me personally, I've got to know each of you on an individual level. And you guys truly are mentors, right? You're not just a vessel, as we all like to think about, a vessel who carries a message, but you're a vessel who models the message. And that's important as well. You guys truly are change agents. You are able to take a seed, right? These young lives and a seed and allow them to be placed in a soil, right? Many of them during the interviews that I had the opportunity to sit on, some of them didn't feel a part before this. Some of them felt isolated before this, but you guys had the opportunity to take this opportunity and rise up as men of color in this community, rise up and allow them to have a space where they can be cultivated, where they can have a space that they are now finding their voice. And now they have a space that they can now call brotherhood and that some call family. So we want to thank you for continually being change agents that our society needs to see. Powerful men leading the way and generating change from the individual perspective, but also on an intergenerational perspective. All of the families that are represented are doing better because of what you have poured into their lives. So we want to thank you on behalf of the Center at Sierra Health, on behalf of My Brother's Keeper. We just want to thank you for continuing pouring in, continuing loving, and continuously nurturing our young men of color to lead bright futures and to shine like the stars that they're destined to be. So thank you. We can all just congratulate them with some claps and applause, the silent applause as well. We just want to thank you for committing your time and your talent and your treasures and pouring it into the young men. So thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
Chris, you and D'Angelo, you may be on mute. You may have to unmute your button.
Me and D'Angelo are having connection problems. So I think that's why he's not speaking.
Thank you, Keyshawn, for being your brother's keeper. I will go back to sharing, and I know Christopher actually texted that he actually had a relative go into labor today, so he's supporting his family as well. The D'Angelo, just hop in if you're able to get back in, but you're texting me right now to say you're getting kicked off. We wanted to just share some opportunities to move forward, even though we know the fellowship, the actual 9-month cohort is coming to a close, as has been mentioned, and you can see with the involvement of those who are alumni like Chris and D'Angelo, the fellowship is forever, and that brotherhood that's been established, the mentorship that's been established is forever. But there are several different opportunities to stay engaged. We want to encourage you to continue to stay connected with Christian, Mark, Ijoma, Mr. Green, Bell, and myself, and others that are on the call today, specifically, but not limited to that work around supporting families experiencing poverty and also violence intervention. The people that are a part of MBK, the larger network, and the people that are here today are also part of that work. And so there are ways to stay connected to that. There are also the My Brother's Keeper strategy teams that are ready and excited to have more youth voice be a part of their work and their efforts. In addition to future opportunities with the fellowship, as you can see, has been highlighted today. It's a great opportunity to then kind of, as Alejandro said, open the door behind you for other young people coming forward, and we definitely see your leadership. So we want to encourage you to think about those ways to stay connected to MBK. We want to encourage you to reach out to us throughout the summer, and you'll be receiving information about internship opportunities, online classes. Los Rios is still free for the first 2 years, so there's some exciting kind of summer learning opportunities we want to help support you with connecting to. And know that we're here. We're not going anywhere. And so we want to make sure that we all stay linked in and linked up. With that, I'll pass it over to Mr. Green for closing.
All right, so thank you, Britt. And for those who may know or may not know, we have to shout out Innovation Bridge with Britt Irby and Bel Reyes, who's leading the way. They are really building bridges, not just in their name, but in their work that they do, especially around this call in improving outcomes for boys and men of color. They help lead the fellowship and form all of this and get the mentors together and get the youth and the space together. So we want to thank you all for doing what you do with so much love, so much skill, and so much grace. So we could just congratulate them in the chat box. We want to thank you. This was our rites of passage. And as we close out, as all of you have heard, there are multiple ways to engage. And I also want to put a call out to all of those youth fellows to look at who's on the line right now. Some had to maybe go a little bit early, but this is also your support network, right? We're wrapping our arms around you, whether that be personally, whether that be strategically, through the policy, procedures, and practice that we put in place in all of our strategy teams. They want to show you love. I want to thank the MBK Healthy Development Strategy Team, fellows. All of the gift cards that you all got was on behalf of the MBK Healthy Development Strategy Team, and some of them are here today. They took it upon themselves to support and sow into you during this time of COVID, and just to thank you for your resiliency. As we move forward, we're looking for your voice. Your voice is valid. You are valuable. We're looking for your voice to continue to shape, continue to mold youth violence prevention strategies here in Sacramento, as well as all of the strategies that we have across MBK in healthy development, education, workforce, and juvenile justice and safety. So we want to thank you all. Thank you all for staying on just a little bit longer than we planned. But for more information, please visit MBK SAC Youth Fellowship Program. The link is there. It's on our website, so feel free to click that. You guys are valuable. You guys are great. At this time, I'm going to ask, because there's going to be more opportunities coming forth, so stay tuned. But I'm going to ask if everyone can unmute their mic and just clap show them love. It's hard doing this virtually, but they need to hear from you all. I got my daughter here. She's proud of y'all too, y'all.
Oh wow!
She's been trying to stay quiet. Thank you for making change for me too in Sacramento. We appreciate it.
Oh, so sweet.
Love you all, and we'll see you all soon. And we look forward to continuing building and helping change agents be the change that we need right now. So thank you for your commitment and your service of love. Thank you all.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Go log off, Jace.
What are you doing? They just hung up.
Good job, you guys. You made it.
Good job, Sam.